Okay, everybody, now that we've got our machine threaded and our bobbin is full, I just want to go over some of the other features on the sewing machine which you will need to be aware of in order to start sewing. The first is your tension lever. Now, this can get tricky if you start playing with this. Ideally, you want your tension lever, which goes from 1 to 9, to be set somewhere in the middle, okay? And there, you see the difference there between the 5 and the 6. 5, 4, and 3 are considered in the middle. So 4 is perfect for me. You can play with this a little bit in the sense that you can go up 1 or down 1, but you don't want to be sewing on 9 or 2, say. So put your tension right in the middle there. The next thing that you're going to want to consider is your stitch length. So here I have 3 possibilities on this machine. The hashtag represents the type of stitch, which correlates with this grid down here. So I have that set on 1, which is my straight stitch, which is perfect for all of the projects that I'm going to teach you how to sew. And then if I bump this down, that goes to my needle position. So when I move this over, I can go over, or up rather, or down, you're going to see that that moves the needle. And that's useful when you're putting in a zipper or need to get a very narrow top stitch. So normal position for that is 3.5. So for most of the projects that we're going to be sewing, you're going to leave that needle positioned right in the center. Now the next factor to consider is your stitch length. When you first turn on your machine, you're going to have it's going to default to a very tiny stitch length. And that really is ideal because it's going to give you a nice tight stitch, a good hold. Now, if you were, say, just doing like some basting stitching, or there was a high probability that you were going to remove those stitches, a longer stitch length could be useful. I'm going to advise you to just keep that on the default stitch. So you could also do even tighter, which I don't suggest. So the default on this machine was 2.2. If you ever are uncertain, just turn your machine off and turn it back on, and it's going to start up with all of the defaults. The next feature that you will want to consider is the speed. So this machine has a foot pedal attached to it, so I can control the speed with my foot. But whenever I am sewing with a new sewer, I always put this down in between slow and medium, right in the middle there, because then even if they push the foot pedal completely down, they're not going to go faster than the speed lever. So when you're first starting out, let's go for right in between slow and medium. And then as you gain more experience, medium is a really good place to stitch. And those are the very basics. Now, when you are sewing, there's only really 2 stitches that you need to know. Forward, straight stitch. Okay, so a forward straight stitch or a reverse straight stitch. So on this machine, the reverse lever is indicated by this little, I call it a U-turn, or a little upside down U there. And when I press the foot pedal, the machine goes forward. When I press my reverse button, it goes backwards. Now the reverse stitch is very useful because it locks in your stitch, it reinforces your stitch, and we're going to be using the reverse stitch a lot. So find out where the reverse is on your machine and learn to use that. Now, if you have never used a sewing machine before, or you are brand new to your sewing machine, you're going to want to just play with it. Spend 10 or 15 minutes just making practice stitches. Getting used to how the machine works, how it sounds. Another valuable lesson or benefit of taking practice stitches is you can get a feel for how that fabric handles so that you don't over control, because you want nice straight stitches. So notice I'm not moving the fabric with my hands. I'm just barely placing my hands on top of that and letting it pull through the machine. There are feed dogs under there that are pulling that fabric through. I'm not pushing it through. All I'm doing is just resting my hands there. Now, even if I didn't rest my hands there, it's still going to go through the machine. Then you have your cutter on the side there, which you can use if you like. You're going to always want to make sure that you pull out both threads and set those off to the side or to the back every time. That's going to keep you from having to re-thread your machine over and over and prevent you from getting frustrated. So let's just go through the steps of that. I have everything set up. My tension's adjusted. I got the right stitch length. I'm on the right stitch. My foot lever is up. I'm going to slide the fabric underneath. I'm going to position my foot lever down. That is essential. It is a safety factor. Never sew with the foot up. Okay? Got my foot lever down. I'm going to start off nice and slow by depressing the gas pedal, I call it, which makes the machine move forward. Start off nice and slow. Can speed up a little after I'm comfortable. And I'm just letting the feed dogs pull the fabric through the machine. When I reach the edge, I'm going to lift up the foot, pull the thread out, cut that on the side, and then lay both threads down on the side. So one more time, fabric under, foot pedal down, power on. And continue in that loop until you're very comfortable with a straight stitch and you have a good feeling for how the fabric moves through the machine and the order of operations.